well, and neither good nor bad luck can be predetermined. Preface. The story originates in China around the time of Confucius, the wise scholar from the Far East. I am Pero, and I will let the story take place in Bavaria about 200 years ago, when Napoleon Bonaparte promoted Prince Maximilian IV to King Joseph Maximilian I. As a gesture of gratitude for the promotion, now King Maximilian I promised the self-made emperor that he would provide Bavarian soldiers for the French in their battle against Russia, even though the Bavarians had no problems with Russia. But after the French emperor was so miserably defeated in Moscow, Leipzig and Waterloo, other conditions evolved. The Bavarian King Maximilian I had already made the call. The military officers came in spring, when everyone had to sow their wheat and potatoes, to examine Giergel, the son of a farmer called Wenz, and found him suitable for the war effort. "You can't do that," said Wenz. "You can't take away my only son, just because you need him to fight against the Prussian people. All they want is to get payback for Napoleon's megalomania. Another war is the last thing we need. My son needs to help me harvest my goods. And on top of that, he is engaged and we want to celebrate his wedding in the summer." "Well, there is nothing we can do," said the heartless officers. "We will pick him up in 3 weeks' time. If you have any objections, you must create a petition to the king." "Oh, Wenz, that's so horrible," say all the neighbors, and especially his uncle, who was visiting Wenz with his mare at the time. When they said goodbye, Wenz heard the mare mumbling, and he mumbles, "That's new, the animals are talking now as well." But the mare Zilli says, "Well, you are the only one that listens closely. Congratulations! And did you also understand what I was trying to tell you? My truth is, neither good nor bad luck can be predetermined. Stay neutral and see how it turns out. But you are lucky that you are listening to me." Farmer Wenz is really behind schedule. While others had already started sowing, he wasn't even done preparing the soil because it was still partially frozen. Nevertheless, he packs his stuff that he needs for his son's petition to prevent him from going to the armed forces with the other 35,000 brave Bavarians and rides towards Munich. And again the neighbors tell him, "Oh, you have such a bad luck, Wenz. Just when it's time to sow, you must leave." He leaves for Munich and coincidentally encounters his uncle's land. Zilli, the mare, was standing on the side of the road and said, "Well, Farmer Wenz, neither good nor bad luck can be predetermined. And by the way, do what makes you happy. Keep asking yourself, who do I want to be at this moment? Or what does that have to do with me now? Or what meaning does this have for me? And also think, God just wants the best, the very best for me. He is always looking out for me, even if I don't understand everything right way. And if you do want to have a different anyways, you can ask God for a favor." His petition was denied. Farmer Wenz and his entourage made their way back home. Once he passed his uncle again, he saw that the entire house had burned to the ground. Only Zilli was standing by the fence. "Oh, how unfortunate," says Wenz. "There is nothing left of it." "Neither good nor bad luck can be predetermined," says the horse. "Look, your uncle had no children and now his stuff belongs to you. And I belong now to you as part of the inheritance. You could call this luck that we have found each other. And your uncle was in very bad shape anyways. Didn't you notice during your last visit that he wasn't walking straight and that his left side was just slanted downwards? He subsequently had a stroke. The rest of his life was painful. He was bound to bed until the end and couldn't talk anymore. Fate has saved him from any more hurdles and given him a shortcut out. It is luck in some sort to always see the good in the bad. Well, if you see it that way, you are right, responds the farmer. He takes the mare to his house. When he gets there, he can't believe his eyes. The freshly sown goods of the neighbors are destroyed and covered in a thin layer of snow. He thinks, silly, you were right, it was good that I had to go to Munich the other day. That saved me a lot of time on the field. And I still have plenty of time left to start sowing next week. And on my way home from Munich, I passed my uncle's house and saw what happened. There is a lot I can learn from you, silly. Once everyone had heard about the tragedy of Wence's uncle, they all said, "Oh, what a shame." But Wentz is not so sure about this anymore and thinks, according to Zilli, neither good nor bad luck can be predetermined. And after they see the mare, they say, "Oh, you got lucky with this horse that you inherited. It's simply majestic." The farmer is not so sure about it and thinks, according to Zilli, neither good nor bad luck can be predetermined. And for sure the first time Girgel, the son of Farmer Wenz, wanted to train Zilli. She buckled, and since Girgel was only used to riding oxen, he was not prepared for this and fell off the mare. He fractures his right leg. Now it's certain that this is bad luck, complains the farmer to Zilli. And all the neighbors agree. Zilli disagrees, shakes her head and argues, "Well, Girgel needs to learn how to properly treat an animal like me. It would have been better if he had properly introduced himself and talked to me first. It would have been better to establish a friendly atmosphere instead of just jumping on my back. That's utterly disrespectful and rude. He could have learned a lot from me, but he did not listen the way he should have. And on the other hand, do you see what I see?" And she points towards the street. The officers are walking up the street to get Girgel. When they see him with the broken leg, they realize that they cannot transport him like that and that he needs to heal first. Wenz is impressed and shouts to Zilli, "Respect." Later he asks her, "How does not differentiating between good or bad luck benefit me?" "Well," says Zilli, "listen closely. What you call good or bad luck is superficial. The judgment is superficial. And from this point of view, you can never tell from the beginning how it is going to turn out. You never know if it will take a negative or a positive turn. And if we pay attention to what's going on inside of us, we will realize that luck and inner peace are always the result of accepting a situation the way it is without defining it is good or bad. And it's real luck when one can value an experience for what it is. It's real luck to take any circumstance and turn it into something that makes you happy. Not even winning the lottery is luck if you end up spending all the money on useless things and end up having huge amounts of debt with no enhancement to your mental state of mind. Losing your job is also not a bad thing if you didn't like it from the beginning. Whatever happens to you is always an opportunity to bring you further along in life. It's always up to you what you do with it. The misfortune, burden and complaints arise when you look at and judge things from a low vibrational, low frequency mindset. So to summarize, if you don't differentiate between good or bad, whereas unconditional love doesn't judge, it preserves a kind of neutrality towards everything that you are and are feeling at the moment. And this includes low and high feelings. You are the creator of your own experience. But isn't that quite boring, asked the farmer, to just let things happen without any active participation? Silly won't change her mind. People can't just be neutral because they feel like they don't have any mental stimulation and will just aimlessly walk around with emotions, but that is not correct. They confuse neutrality with apathy. Neutrality is really about openness and unconditional love, because that way you love every aspect of yourself and everything that you experience. You could say, be curious and say, oh wow, with the help of neutrality, you can be placed into a reality other than the one you are in right now. But for that, you need to realize two things. On one side, there is only one moment, and on the other side, you attract your experiences to you like a magnet. Your life has both good and bad moments and everything in between. If you just see the only good or bad, you miss everything in between. But you don't help yourself if you just let the experiences pass you without giving them attention. And it is even worse if you judge them because you don't think about what these experiences do to your emotions, what they mean to you, and what the best way to react to them is. And if the so-called negative things happen to you, accept them to learn and grow from them. Think more like, okay, that's something I can learn from. Or think, who do I want to be in the best case scenario with regard to this matter? What brings me the greatest joy? If you judge one experience as bad, everything affiliated with it will seem to be bad. In the beginning, you evaluate, and that's something your head does automatically. This is also reflecting on your well-being. That's exactly why it is so inevitable to delete all your emotional connections and neutralize them. That will set you free. You shouldn't say good or bad, or it's not my business. Rather, you should say, okay, would you look at that, what's going on here, and watch closely how it will change you. That's the process of turning everything into love, value and empathy. And no one can live off lack of judgment and mental well-being. Okay, thinks the farmer. If you look it that way, it opens entirely different dimensions. He invites his neighbors for brunch and tells them, so my dear neighbors, there is a lot going on during a long day, but whether it's good or bad luck can't be predetermined at the beginning. I just wanted to tell you that. I'm happy that all of you are here and care for me. And I'm very happy that you helped me with my sewing this year since my son couldn't. We must stick together in any case. I'm certain there will be an occasion where I can pay it forward by helping. One of them asks Farmer Wenz, tell me, Now that you no longer differentiate between good or bad, if you had a glass that was filled halfway with wine, would you regard it as being half empty or half full? That is just like judging good or bad, the farmer thinks, and wonders how silly would have reacted, and he says, in this case, I would be happy that I even have a glass, because otherwise the wine would just run through my fingers. Epilogue. By the end of March 1814, they had picked many Bavarian reservists to fight alongside the Prussians against the former Allied France. A couple of years later, in 1866, they picked reservists to fight alongside the Habsburgs against the Prussia. In 1870, only 4 years later, they once again fought alongside the Prussians against France. Isn't it a crux with the wars